Guys, you are now watching a clip from the Fellas podcast. You can listen to the full podcast exclusively on Spotify for free. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed, and follow the podcast.
I want to talk about, so you did a video where you drove so much.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
First of all, I mean, I did that like 12-hour drive from Scotland down to London that I explained to you on an electric car. Yeah, I've realized, man, road trips on an electric car are just not it.
Because you got a charge car.
Bro, how many miles is that? Like 400? Is that 400, 500 miles taking 12 hours? How the fuck is that even possible? That's disgraceful. How many miles do you reckon you did in that series?
I don't know.
In the video.
I literally, so obviously the £40 car to Madrid, right?
Yeah.
For the 2019. Yeah. So it took 3 days, and I drove from literally outside Anfield to the Metropolitano, I think that's what it's called, the Atletico Madrid Stadium in Madrid. So it took 3 days, but yeah, 3 days. In a banger.
I was watching that earlier, by the way. That car is Skoda.
Mate, I've still got it.
I've
still got it.
Is that because you can't get rid of it?
Runs.
Well, it runs. The MOT runs out in February, and I'm like, oh no, it's going to need welding, it's going to need this. But it's still there. I put the key in it the other day, turned it on, boom, jobs are good.
Why have you still got it? I need to know.
Do you know what I wanted to do? Because like my brother like loves Skodas, right?
Yeah.
So because when I come up with the idea, it was like my brother's the one who like found the car and we were looking for it. And I was like, when we drove it to Madrid, I was like, this is never going to get back. I was like, should we just drive it off a cliff and film it or something?
Yeah.
And he was like, my brother was like, don't be so stupid. I was like, mate, let's fly back. We can't drive back. It took us 3 days to get here. He goes, you fly. I'm driving it back. So I was like, oh, I can't leave him. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we drove back as well. So,
how many miles round trip is that?
Oh, mate, I wouldn't even like to guess. We're taught it's got to be
like 2,000,
yeah.
1,500.
Honestly,
more than that.
Yeah. 3 days of driving.
3 days
but it was mad, like driving there, because obviously the video was blowing up, and I did like 3 videos on it.
Yeah,
as soon as the first series, the first video went out, obviously my phone blew up, and then like ITV, fucking BBC, everybody, and then the ITV man, Peter, he was like, Simon, like we want you on primetime ITV news coming into Madrid, but I need you in here by like 10 a.m. on whatever the day was. And I worked it out. I was like, mate, like we're never gonna get there. But I was like, oh, sod it, we'll just do it. So we had like, even though we actually had a deadline to get there for that, which mate, it was so stressful. But kudos to my brother, mate. He drove the whole thing. Like,
were there moments where you're like, yeah, this car just ain't getting there?
100%. Like before we got on the ferry in Dover, like literally we were just driving and it just goes bang. I was like, but like not just like a crackle or something. It was like, what the fuck? Yeah. And then you look behind and there's like a pipe on the road. Like,
really?
Just falling off.
And I was like, oh wow, we're not going to make it. Like, at that point I was like, we ain't making it. And then we got on the ferry and I'm like, what the hell was that pipe? And then my brother was like, I don't know. And then when we got off the ferry, we rang my uncle, who like knows a bit about cars. I sort of like, my brother tried to explain to him like the shape of the pipe, and he was like, oh, that'll be the pipe that sends the air back into the engine. You should be all right without it. So we're like, oh, we'll see. And so it's still not got that pipe on to this day.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there was times where you just thought this is... And then the other worst thing was, because obviously it's not got a cooling system on it, as soon as we were getting to hotter climate and getting like south of France and Spain, the car was overheating. So we had to turn it off. You had to like stop and turn it off, because if it overheated, it would just like, the engine would just melt, because it was too hot, and there was no fan to cool the engine down. So yeah, towards the end, you just see the needle go from like a normal temperature to just red
skyrocket.
And then you'd have to turn it off. That was mad.
But you made it in the end.
Made it.
The whole way, 40 quid.
And we won the Champions League 6 times.
How much do you reckon that trip cost you then? Because you spent 40 quid on the car.
40 quid on the car. First tank of petrol was more than 40 quid. Really? No, I spent about 300 quid just on tolls. You know, those tolls going down the south of France and like Spain. That was the worst bit. You get to a toll road like the M6 toll, and then you'd be like, oh, how much is toll? And you'd be like, I think the most expensive one was like 60 euros. I was like, what? For a toll? Yeah. And there was like multiple. I think it was about 300 euros for the toll, 40 quid for the car, and whatever the petrol was. We filled up at least 4 or 5 times.
But you did save money in the end because the fight's like 800 quid or something. 800 euros.
Yeah, definitely. And not only that, there was like 4 of us in the car. So, we saved loads of money.
Didn't you do it again? But then I saw a clip of like Jamie Carragher jumping in the back.
Yeah.
So how the hell did that even happen then?
So again, like the first final that Liverpool got to after that was it the FA Cup or the League Cup? It was the League Cup. It was the League Cup final in Wembley.
Yeah.
So I thought, just because it's like a good luck charm as well, I thought, let's just drive down in it. And then I know Jamie, so I was like, Jamie, like it'd be mega to like pick you up, and then you can come down with us if you want.
And then he just jumped out. Didn't
he? Well, in the end, he was like, mate, like genuinely, like because obviously he works for Sky Sports, he was like. Mate, he was like, I genuinely need to get to work. So he was like, if you don't make it, I can't just not turn up. So dropped him off at the station, and then he trained it down. But I think, we didn't get there before him, but we got there. So,
that was good, man.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that is so good. I love it, like series like that. Where it's so you're starting with an absolute bang. It'd be sick. You know what you should do is just like slowly like pimp up the car. Until it turns into like this like modded. It's rapid. It does 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds.
It's like fucking Pimp My Ride. Got screens attached to your mud
ceramic brakes the lot.
Yeah, exactly. Just make it like a sick car and do a series about that, and then drive it even further. But yeah, you had that because you follow Liverpool as a football club like quite a lot, right?
Season
like you
ticket,
go to the full works. Is there a particular game? Were you there at the Barcelona return?
I was there for that.
I had a shocker with that one, man, because I went to the game in Barcelona and I watched it.
So you're a Liverpool fan?
Yeah.
Way.
So I was at the finals. I've watched us fucking get absolutely.
Hey, I never knew you were a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Because you're United, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I just assumed you'd be United. Liverpool fan. No. Fair play.
But yeah, so I went to the Camp Nou. I went to that game, and obviously we got spanked 3-0. That Messi free kick, all of that jazz.
So you went to that? I wasn't there. Fair play.
So I was at that game, and then I came back, and then I think I had a shoot on the day, and I think I could have made it, but it was just going to be like a really tight squeeze. And like there was if there's any one of those where if there's any delays, I'm missing it. And I was there like, we're 3-0 down. I just don't think it's worth like me running the risk of maybe not even seeing the game, but making the trek. And then Lord knows that to this day, the best game.
Even like, don't get me wrong, I was always going to go, but even I was just like, what's the point of going tonight? But I was just like, it was just like. It wasn't like excited to go. It was like, I'm going because I want, like, it's my team.
Anybody that went there and thought that we were going to come away going through that, you're lying to yourself. There's no way that you're going into that game against Barcelona with Messi there. You just don't think it. I mean, now we know Barcelona love a little ball in the Champions League, but...
Finished.
Yeah, man.
If we'd beat Real Madrid last year, that game would have been better.
What's that?
If we won against Real Madrid last year, that comeback would have been better than yours.
But you didn't.
Can't remember, man.
But if we did, I mean, we had a disallowed goal.
There's a lot of if we did.
I've seen a women's team, hashtag women's team won 16-0, but if the other team came back and beat them, that would have been a great.
It was a disallowed goal. It was a disallowed goal.
Morocco would have won the World Cup. That would have been good, right?
Yeah, that would have been a good
goal. Great.
Yeah. So are you season ticket holders?
Yeah.
So you get out there. What are you thinking about this season?
It's tough to watch, isn't it? To be honest, but
man.
I just think though, with every industry, whether it's football, whether it's YouTube, I think you have goals as a solo or a team. Once you've achieved those goals. Do you get what I mean? Like, what's next? There always has to 100%. Like that team. Like I went away to Old Trafford when we lost 2-1 this season, right? And it was like, were you there for that?
Wasn't that the Old Trafford? Yeah,
that was one we went to. Yeah,
we went to.
So like that lineup, apart from 2 changes, was the same lineup when we played them in 2018.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like it's. Like I'm like all those players, like Mane leaving, love Mane. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But like just watching him, it's almost like you can sort of see that the guy's come to the club, he's smashed it, he's won everything he could have won, and it's just not there anymore. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same with YouTube. When you start off and you're like, oh my God, the millions of subscribers, and you get there and you're like, okay, I've done it now and I enjoy it, and but it's just you enjoy it in a different way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's how I feel like with Liverpool now. I think every team it's like Arsenal. Arsenal had the bad period, now they're in. If Arsenal win the Prem this year, or I don't think they will, but if they do and they do other stuff, it's going to come a point where that team's just done.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Liverpool Football Club. I love them, right? But equally, I just think it just needs a change now. It just needs a change. Like, our classic front three, Firmino, Salah, Mane, like, unfortunately,
but I think like in the front three, that's probably the one place where we have actually chopped and changed it now. We had Diaz come in. We've obviously just got Gakpo. We've got Nunez up front now. Yeah. Salah's still being Salah, but I think you can still keep at least one player. Yeah. But I mean, the midfield is like. Yeah. What the fuck is going on there? Like there is just no fresh blood in there at all. And you're right. I think it is a massive, and it applies to life in general. It's just like once you reach a certain goal, it's like right. You need to find that hunger and that desire. And I think that often comes with either bringing in new players. I mean, I think that's why Man City, they'll go and win the Prem and then sign like 3 or 4 50 million players or whatever it is. 100%. And I'm always thinking there, like, this is unnecessary spending, but it's quite clear that, and I think there was actually a really good interview that Pep did, and I remember just seeing this one line that he said. He was doing it in his training ground. It was a really like casual interview with their City TV. And he was literally there, like he was saying exactly what we're saying now. He's like, you need new players in that are hungry, because otherwise the players that have just won whatever you've won with them, they're just not at it like they were anymore, 100%. Unless the people around them are hungry. It makes sense why. And it was like we won the Champions League final and then didn't sign a player entire summer. And it's like, if you're ever in a position to sign top players in the world, it's after you've just won the biggest club trophy you can win. So for me at least, Chip, I hope that one day you'll get to experience that again. Because right now I know you're not really in a conversation when in this particular thing.
I mean, look at us right now. We're not that bad. We're not doing that bad. It's looking pretty good.
I mean, we can't tell we're lower than you in the league.
Yeah. Football fucking sucks, man, anyway. So.
Well, he's a Chelsea fan. It sucks for you. You're a Chelsea fan. At least we actually winning some games.
No, you're right. We are washed.
You lot are a washed.
What's your thoughts on Potter?
He needs time, for sure. Yeah. But I think the issue is, for him, he's got about 9 injuries. 2 best fullbacks injured. That massively affects things. We've got an ageing midfield, same as Liverpool, like Jorginho. Kovacic is good on his day, but he needs someone young alongside him.
I don't think they should have got rid of Tuchel. I don't.
Oh, no.
And then on top of that, though, Potter, like, I rate Potter massive. But equally, I'm just like, there's always that thing, isn't it? Like, Potter's massively successful at Brighton. He was a fan favourite. He always smashed it. He got Brighton to a place that Brighton maybe should never have got. And then it's like, obviously, like, he's got his own personal goals, and that's probably why he went to Chelsea. But for me, it's like, I don't know. I don't think he should have done it. And it's the same with, like, Lampard. Like, when Lampard was at Derby, fan favourite, got him to the playoff final. Should have just stayed there, just done another season. Even like Gerrard coming from Rangers. Like, again, don't get me wrong, it's a massive move for him and a big career move. And, if I was in his situation, I'd probably do the same. But equally, you're just like, He was a legend at Rangers. I know Rangers fans who absolutely adored him, but the fact he just sort of leaves mid-season, he loses respect when he's built so much of it up. And I just think football's just so fickle now, isn't it?
These managers who are at the smaller teams as well, like, the bad results go a bit more unnoticed. So if you look at someone like Thomas Frank, brilliant manager, I rate him highly. But if he has a stinker and loses 4-0 to Villa, let's say, no one really clocks it because they are a smaller team. Whereas Potter had those at Brighton. But he comes to Chelsea, gets battered 4-1 by Brighton. Everyone's like, oh, he's awful. It's like, well, okay, he hasn't had that transitional period. Give him a year, and if we've got a full-strength team and he's performing this badly with, like, in that year, then I think you can say, get him gone. But until then, you can't really.
No, 100%. Yeah. But it's a tough one. Like, have you seen the film Moneyball? With Brad Pitt.
Love that.
So, like, Brad Pitt's character in it, like, gets offered the Red Sox job at the end, and he doesn't end up going for it, does he? And he stays at his club, and then he's like, oh, Red Sox then went on to win it. There's, like, 2 sides to everything,
There's a fairy tale to that, isn't there?
Yeah, so it's like, the fact he stayed with, I think it was the Oakland something, the fact he stayed with them for 20 years is, like, admirable, but then could he have gone to Red Sox and win it, or could he not? So I think the same thing with Potter. Like, if he'd have stayed at Brighton, probably be there another 10 years, be, like, proper legend status of Brighton probably is there anyway.
I think
but
the only thing, I agree with you from like the every side that isn't Potter himself, because I think if that's me, like at the end of the day, even if you just look at this objectively as a job, right? It's like, okay, you're being offered double, triple, quadruple, whatever he was being paid. It's like, look, if that happens pretty much anywhere in any industry ever, you're snapping a person's hand off and you take it. Right? Not only that, but it's like he probably has his own goals of going and winning maybe the Champions League, the Premier League, things like that. And look, there'll be like maybe not even a slim chance these days, but there is a much smaller chance of doing that with a team like Brighton. And it's like, look, you can grind that out for 10 years. And who knows? Maybe he has 2 seasons where things don't go well. And it's like clubs don't show loyalty to managers. Why should the managers show loyalty to the 100%. Clubs?
The thing with me with Potter, though, if he'd have stayed Brighton manager, he'd have been next England manager, I reckon.
Yeah. So
that now he's gone to Chelsea and like, I hope he turns it around, do you know what I mean? But let's just say he keeps having a stinker and he loses his job. Is he going to be next England manager? Probably not.
I'd be on my knees, man.
Do you know what I mean?
That would be nice, though.
I don't want no more Southgate. I'm tired. I'm tired of it. But yeah, look, it's interesting that so you still find time to like go to the games.
Yeah, honestly, like if I was there at Wolves on Saturday, like I'll literally go to every game.
That's tough.
Yeah, it was. But like I'll try and go to every possible game that I can.
That's great.
It's commitment that I rate it.
Yeah.